Diana Ross performed it. It was written by a team of people. And it's one of the things I think frequently, that if people learned how to dance together from a very young age, or from any time in their life, but preferably young, it would in fact be a better world. This is part of the reason I became a music theater dance educator, but also there's something intrinsically human about community. And yesterday I got to see I got to see a couple of my beloved former music students who are now grown. And Liz Lister is teaching dance, Bachata by the River in Cambridge and other surrounding towns as well. She has a website, Lister Events. I also got to see another wonderful dancer performer who takes photographs for her, Kelsey Atwater. And the feeling of pride that I get in having been one small part of these humans' educational experience is huge. I bragged to at least 8 people last night that I had taught them. And that is why being an educator is one of the great professions. And over the course of this summer, and maybe a little bit into the fall, I'm having conversations with educators and also with other people who have good eyes on community spaces about what we wish we had learned in school but had to learn in other ways. I am starting to see more clearly as I take notes across the patterns because I'm having this conversation with so many people in coffee shops, so many people outside of this space. Next week, I'll be in conversation with Kate Anderson, a wonderful educator and change maker who is from, well, I'll let her tell her story. And language arts teacher Laura Hunt will be on this podcast the following week. Both of these will be live conversations where people can pop in with their comments and questions. There'll be an incredible entrepreneur and educator, Adriel Valentine, who will not be live. He and I are recording this week, the following week. A lot of people get excited when they're offered the opportunity to sound off on things they wish they learned in public or in private education. I'm seeing a lot of patterns around the desire to be more skillful in attuning to oneself so that we can also attune to the people around us. I think a lot of things can be learned in the body through art forms like dance and other forms of self expression. And I know that for every place where I might see a possibility, there's complications that arise. One of the things that I think is most essential is the reality that people who are in education spaces as teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, and of course, most importantly, students themselves, often feel overloaded by expectations and requirements. I am not a fan of the testing industry and the ways in which it has teachers teaching to a test and also students comparing themselves based on metrics that don't necessarily give us information that is meaningful for the long term. With that said, I understand that certain kinds of ways of testing are hard to get rid of once they're in place. And we want some sort of assessment, we want some sort of metric. So I believe wholeheartedly in the simplicity that comes after complexity. That's part of the reason I'm having freeform conversations on a podcast about these questions because I'm choosing to take my time to think and to talk with the hope that there's some value that comes forth from these conversations. Now, exactly what that leads to, I'm not yet sure. And I'm actually okay with that. I think one of the most important things we learn over time with life experience is an ability to tolerate ambiguity, an ability to feel discomfort and uncertainty, to have a lot going on in our mind, and to continue on a path nonetheless. These are things that we can learn somatically through hiking or endurance sports. I'm learning it as I train for Ride for the Cure. Um, I know that I have many different ways in which my experiences in my body have allowed me to learn more about the world and who I am. I also understand because I have so many experiences myself of temporary disability in my body, but also because I've experienced this in relationship with friends, family, and clients who have limitations to their bodies, that the learning of one person is specific to them, may be applicable to others, but certain things we have to learn ourselves in our body, and that's part of being human. I have one little sheet that I'm trying to keep condensed to this little sheet of themes that I'm taking out of the many conversations I'm having with others. If you had a theme or a skill set or something very specific that you think would be important for a human to learn in the context of an educational space, let's say before they graduate high school, and you want to put it in the comments on this post, I would so appreciate that. I'm making this a short post today, and definitely by the end of August, I'll have a more complete, organized list of themes because, again, I'm looking for the simplicity on the other side of the complexity. Coming from a place of fear and adding to the load of educators and educational spaces, not helpful. And then, like, additional tests required to assess, not my dream for anybody who has the gift and the challenge of working within a school system. At the same time, accounting for the multifaceted realities that we're all dealing with on the daily, and the fact that life is changing and the planet and technologies are changing. And there are real, actual present dangers that are around us all the time. I'll simply note that being trained as an interfaith chaplain and being adjacent to death, dying, and major catastrophe was one of the most important learning experiences of my life. So at some point, hoping to bring a friend or a former colleague who is in the chaplaincy space into this conversation, because when you have the perspective of, oh my, life might be over soon, it informs the living and the daily. And I think it might actually be a really important conversation to have with young people, especially given suicidality being pretty high within young people as well as adults, and gun violence being a danger across the planet and especially in the United States. So I'll say one happy making thing. Well, I think it's happy making to end this solo muse in which I invite you again to comment on things you wish you'd learned, things you envision next generations benefiting from. This is the happy news, or the joyful news is a better word. I got to see a lot of people, well, over the course of my life as a crisis therapist, as well as an interfaith chaplain and in other spaces too. I've gotten to see that people who have community, could be family, could be friends, could be places where they volunteer. It might be that they're a neighbor. Those who are embedded in loving relationship, whether with a small circle near them or because they're active in spaces around them. It doesn't matter if they have a romantic partner or if they have, children of their own. What I witnessed and what I've seen time and again is that connection that's deep and loving and a generous energy. That's what seems to give people a sense of peace, joy, and visitors in the ER, in the long term care space, in the midst of scary situations. So, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you happen to hear this, I want you to remember that a lot of the things that we believe or we're led to believe are necessary maybe actually don't matter as much as we think. Showing up and being loving and generous in the ways you know how, that's a legacy that also supports you in the long term. So, thank you for listening. Please do put in the comments. I'm also going to link again to Ride for the Cure. I'm raising money, and to the Patreon account where we are starting to fund projects. And one happy note is that we are getting close to releasing some merchandise for the 44.4 Collaborative. And I'm sure I'll have a whole post on the Collaborative sometime in the next month or so. But blessings on your day. We are into August, and the live that I thought would be today is actually next week, which is great. I'm trying to do at least one live a month. I'm grateful for all of the ways that we are good to one another. Final quick note, I am doing a live that is paid content only. That is going to be an experimental gathering of Soul Collage. So, Soul Collage is a facilitated space, and I'm a trained facilitator. I'll do a quick post to explain it more in the future. For now, stay in what is real for you. Many blessings, and muse on. May we choose loving gentleness, even in the midst of fear on the planet. As the Diana Ross song would say, don't look back, don't take a second glance, while life is busy making other plans. Jump off the edge and find out where you land. Go take the lead and teach the world to dance. Even if you can't jump, even if you can't dance, we all have something to teach and offer. May what you offer today be joyful.